So my name is Brian O'Hara, B-R-I-A-N-O''H-A-R-A. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. And with me is Minneapolis City Council Member Jamal Osman, Jamal-Osman. And I'm going to talk about crimes that happened yesterday. So within a span of just a few hours, Minneapolis police responded to multiple carjackings and robberies across the city, including the carjacking of City Council Member Jamal Osman. Later in the night, in an incident completely unrelated to this particular crime spree, Minneapolis police officers arrested two adult suspects that were from a separate carjacking and a separate vehicle pursuit. So I'm going to talk about the crime spree first, and then the separate carjacking and pursuit. As a result of all of this, there's currently two juveniles who have been arrested for this main crime spree, and then a red Subaru Outback, a gray Subaru Legacy, and a white Volkswagen Atlas. It began around 2 p.m. yesterday in Minneapolis, where a Subaru Outback was stolen from the 1600 block of First Avenue South after the victim inadvertently left her key fob in the vehicle. Then over the next several hours, the suspects used that Subaru to commit multiple robberies and attempted carjackings across the city, including one at Elwood Avenue North and another near Hennepin Avenue, where a victim was assaulted as suspects tried to take his vehicle. Around 5:15 p.m., officers were dispatched to a disturbance on the 600 block of Elwood Avenue North and found a woman who said she was putting her daughter in the car when a suspect got into the driver's seat and attempted to drive away with the car. The woman then jumped on her daughter in the back seat, and as she did so, the suspect who was driving the car began punching her in the face and in the head. The suspect then jumped out of her vehicle, and the vehicle struck multiple lane markers before she was able to bring the vehicle to a halt. Shortly thereafter, at approximately 6:31 p.m., suspects carjacked a gray Subaru Legacy near the 1600 block of Hennepin Avenue, where they threatened the victim and smashed his cell phone before stealing it and fleeing. Just over an hour later, at 7:57 p.m., those same suspects, we believe, committed a separate carjacking of Councilmember Jamal Osman near Lake Street and Portland Avenue. The suspects threatened the councilmember with mace and stole his white Volkswagen Atlas. Fortunately, Councilmember Osman was not seriously injured, and I want to thank him again for his cooperation with our investigators and his composure throughout this. Within minutes of that last incident, 5th Precinct officers spotted both the stolen Subaru Legacy and the council member's Volkswagen near Lake Street and Pillsbury Avenue. Because the vehicles had been taken and suspected to be involved in a violent carjacking, the police officers attempted to stop them, and both vehicles fled, striking several uninvolved cars in the traffic. One vehicle crashed into a fire hydrant. Police officers pursued two suspects who fled on foot and arrested them after a short foot chase. A replica firearm was also recovered at the scene. Both of these suspects, aged 15 and 16 years old, were taken into custody. The Volkswagen taken from the council member was later recovered near Lyndale Place in North Minneapolis and is being processed for evidence. Of the two juveniles who were taken into custody, one of the juveniles is known to us, the other is not. Our juvenile investigators are now working to ensure accountability for their involvement in these crimes. In a separate case, and unrelated to the previous incidents I mentioned involving a council member, police officers also made two adult arrests overnight following an armed carjacking and another vehicle pursuit. At about 6:07 yesterday morning, a man was carjacked at gunpoint near a gas station near the 2600 block of Penn Avenue North. The suspects, described as two men who arrived in a white Ford pickup, stole the victim's 2015 Kia Forte. Using surveillance cameras and license plate reader data, investigators began tracking the vehicle, and officers continued to do so into the early morning hours. At approximately 2:40 a.m. this morning, 4th Precinct police officers located the stolen Kia near Broadway and West River Road, and a vehicle pursuit was initiated. The suspects attempted to flee through Willard Park, crashing the vehicle near 16th Avenue and Queen Avenue North. The passenger was arrested at the scene, and the driver was captured a few minutes later after a perimeter search with the help of a Minneapolis police canine. Both suspects taken into custody are adults. They both have criminal histories, and both of them had active warrants at the time of their arrest. One of those two adult suspects was later transported to the hospital after we believe he may have swallowed some narcotics during this incident. He's since been released and has been booked into the Hennepin County Jail. These cases, though separate, underscore the same truth, that the police officers worked very hard yesterday, very diligently, to try and stop these violent offenders and to protect our residents. Whether it's juveniles engaged in dangerous and reckless acts or adults committing armed carjackings at gunpoint, these violent crimes have a serious impact on our residents and our larger community. While the overall crime in Minneapolis has declined over the last few years, we continue to see a troubling number of violent incidents, and in particular incidents that involve juveniles. And that's why the MPD is working hard to try and intervene and to hold offenders accountable. The police officers of our community should know that our officers acted swiftly, courageously, and effectively in response to these crimes. And because of their actions, 4 violent offenders, 2 juveniles, and 2 adults have been taken safely into custody. We are thankful that no one was seriously injured, and our investigators will continue to build cases to ensure that justice is served. And with that, I'll open it up to the council member before we take any questions you have.
Good afternoon. I am Councilmember Jamal Osman, who represent Ward 6. I really want to thank our brave officers, MPD, and Chief O'Hara leadership. The work they have done is amazing. I'm very lucky to be here with you. What I experienced, it's not something new to residents of Minneapolis. It's unacceptable for families and individuals in our city to experience this kind of crimes, and something has to be done. There has to be some kind of consequences. Has to be some kind of way of dealing this heinous crime. Again, MPD has been phenomenal, huge work they have done, as the chief mentioned, and I really want to thank them for their service. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any questions?
Chief, we've seen the statistics. They say the numbers are going down, carjackings in our city.
Yes.
But at the same time, you just described like a crazy 24 hours.
Yeah.
How do we keep our citizens safe? How does the police keep folks safe now?
Well, I think the crime sprees are troubling. These are crime sprees, at least 2 years ago had been very violent and a lot more pervasive. There were a lot more incidents that were happening with them. The way we've seen that play out over the course of this year, the largest problem with crime sprees has been damage to motor vehicles, theft from vehicles, smashing people's windows, by the dozens, literally. We're still dealing with that. We had an incident, a couple dozen vehicles damaged Sunday night into Monday. We had about a dozen and a half community service officers out in the neighborhoods yesterday, canvassing, talking to neighbors, retrieving video and evidence to try and help build some of those cases. But those cases are difficult because the offense is so low. It is a petty crime, just breaking somebody's window, and it takes a whole lot of investigative resources and manpower to identify which specific person broke each window. So those are tough because they're so resource intensive. We don't have any information. The two juveniles involved that we believe are involved with the cases yesterday, one was not known to us at all, and the other does not have much contact with the police that I'm aware of. So it's surprising, and we're going to continue to investigate and engage and look for help from partners, as we go through dealing with those two, as well as continue to investigate to see if there's any other kids that had been involved in these sprees yesterday and identify them. Separately, the carjacking involving the two adults, we will be passing that case off to presenting a case to the U.S. Attorney. And that, I believe, has been very effective. Federal charges have been very effective over the last few years at dealing with the problem of violent carjackings. But that is only relevant when the carjackings are committed by adults, because the federal court doesn't have jurisdiction over juvenile offenders. So, again, the larger trend positive, but this shows we still have urgent issues that we need to deal with, and I'm thankful that the officers handled them swiftly yesterday.
More uniforms on the street, would that make a difference? Would that help?
Of course, more police officers would help, but even with that, we will not necessarily be able to prevent everything. We'll just be able to respond better, but certainly greater police presence itself will help deter. It'll help bring more people into the city, and we'll have more people on the streets that feel safer, and that in and of itself helps decrease crime. And obviously the greater numbers of sworn officers will help us better investigate all of these other crimes more quickly.
Chief, the teenager who was known to you, what past interaction has he had with police?
I don't have all the specifics. I know from the supervisor that oversees our juvenile unit that there were a couple of police contacts with him, and I believe one case where he may have been charged. That's it. It's not anywhere near as significant as the juveniles that we focus on. We focus on the juveniles that are kind of the smallest percentage, but they're the most at risk. They're at the extreme, where they're having lots of contacts with police and very, very dangerous and reckless behavior. We did not have that history on these two that we have in custody.
You noted that the data is going in the right area. We did speak with some neighbors today who are exhausted with this, whether they're the victim of just a simple smash and grab or something more heinous like you described happened yesterday. What can you say to those folks?
It obviously, the mom with her child that had somebody just jump in the car, and then she's getting punched because she's just trying to protect her kid. That's totally senseless, and to have juveniles out here engaged in that kind of activity is very dangerous. And so we're trying to do everything that we can to hold people accountable, and also to try and intervene and prevent some of these things from happening in the future. What happened to the council member is very serious. That's why, it could have been even more serious. They were threatening him, these are violent crimes. These are violent carjackings, and we encourage people to we encourage people to always remember that property can be replaced, but your life can't be replaced. So I think that's the most important thing. Those are the things I would say. At least for a person who is being threatened with violence for property, always remember that number one is people's lives. But obviously it's a whole different dimension to a mom who's just trying to protect her child.
Chief, can you speak to the mother's injuries, and was the child injured in this situation?
Child's not injured that I am aware of, and I don't believe mom had any significant injury. Our investigators were just talking to her again before about an hour ago.
And just to clarify, that assault occurred while the car was
inside of the
moving?
car while the car was in motion. So she got out of the car briefly, I think to put her child in the car. I think that's why she got out. And the suspect jumped in the driver's seat. And so she jumped on, this is my understanding, she jumped on her child to protect him. Car began moving, and he began punching her in the face and the head, until finally then jumping out of the car while it was still in motion. And she was ultimately able to bring the car to a stop.
I have a question. If someone is carjacked, what do you do? If I'm carjacked, do I just back off? I could have my car, like what is, not that you want people to have a little training on what to do if they get carjacked.
If someone is robbed or carjacked or observed any of these crimes or any activity that they think is related to this, please try and get us as much detail as possible. It's a very stressful situation. So it's not going to be someone's, first thing on their mind to try and get us the license plate, to try and let us know any descriptive information that can be helpful. But those types of things can make a difference where we're trying to quickly try and apprehend someone. If they're able to calmly try and remember those type of descriptive factors and call 911 immediately.
Chief, any new leads on Lowry Hill at all? The vandalism cars?
So we had about a dozen and a half community service officers out there all day yesterday canvassing a variety of areas. There is some video that they have recovered. They spoke to some additional victims, and that information is being handed off to our investigators. Still working on it.
Can we speak to the councilman
Sure,
for
yep,
1
of
second?
course.
Can you kind of run through the narrative, what happened to you?
What were you doing?
Yeah, I was actually heading home. Came from community meeting, and not far away from my house, there's this new waffle coffee shop that opened up. So I pull over right there to see and grab something. But I had a phone call, so I was talking to my sister on the phone. Yeah, just didn't really think it was gonna happen to me. I mean, but I saw a couple young boys getting out a car in front of me. They parked and didn't think of a lot. So they were gonna go inside the store and buy, coffee and stuff like that. Just started minding my own business, talking on the phone, and they opened my passenger door. Unfortunately, it was open because I was ready to get out. I must have unlocked it, and he just he had a mace. They hand the key to me, so didn't really process it fast. I was like, what? I thought it was someone that was looking for help or something. So right away, I realized it was someone that was with him. Another person was holding his weight, like he was pretending he had a gun. So I didn't really want to, involve. Like the chief say, life comes first. So hand the key out, and I stepped out, and the young man came around. He was scared. I could see him getting in. So he got inside and took off and called the cops right away, and had my plate information. And 10-15 minutes later, they made that initial contact where vehicles were damaged. So overall, it's really unacceptable for any individual, doesn't matter what age you are, to be doing this kind of crimes. People's lives is on the line, and there are a lot of things we need to do as a community. We have to prevent these kind of things, and also talking to the parents, know what your kids about. This are 15, 16, what you should know what your kids are and what kind of crimes they are committing. It's unacceptable. I have seen many people that had it worse, that have been hurt, and I'm very lucky to be here and to have just amazing police officers on the street doing this every day.
So they were like waving the mace at you, like you
they were
just
waving the
sprayed
mace
them?
at you and pretending they had a gun. So didn't want to get involved in any of that. So hand the key to them.
Councilmember, first, glad you're doing okay. You mentioned in the statement that you put out that this just shows that there is work to do. You've said words to those effect here this afternoon. What kind of work are you talking about? Is there potential legislation that the city could work on that tries to target this issue?
Yeah, I think we have to continue to support young kids, especially at even younger age, at middle schools. Make sure that they have an opportunity to be mentored by adults, and create after-school programs, help them with employment, and also parents. Number one responsible is parents. You have to know where your kids are. Even if you need help, seek out. There are organizations, there are other people that are here to help. So, as a leaders of City of Minneapolis, we have to start early, talking to our kids, making sure this kind of thing doesn't happen in the community. Otherwise, it's going to continue going. And also, I'm not a really legal expert, but there has to be some kind of consequences with the action. If individuals know they can't get away with this kind of heinous behavior or crimes, they're going to continue doing it again. So prevention and also consequences. That's what I'm going to wrap it up.
Do you feel targeted because of your job, or do you think this was the
No,
smart car?
no, this was just a normal night. Really, they saw a vehicle that
What time was it? I'm sorry.
around 8 o'clock,
Okay.
7:57. I saw them walking towards me, so I thought they were gonna pass me and get into the coffee shop. But not every day you think about somebody's gonna come take your car. So
Chief, to the point about targeting, in this case, have you seen, is there a common denominator as to why these two teenagers tried to steal from the people they did, or the cars were targeted?
Obviously, two of the vehicles are Subarus, at least two of the vehicles that we know of. And I believe there may have been some other cases in surrounding towns yesterday involving these same suspects. Tampering, again, at least one that I'm aware of was another Subaru. So I don't know if that's just coincidence or for whatever reason, those are the vehicles that happen to be available. It's not, Councilmember Osman was driving a Volkswagen, but some of the other vehicles involved, common denominator was that they were Subarus.
The two juveniles, what kind of charges they face?
We will be presenting cases at the very least for fleeing and being in the stolen vehicles, the vehicles that were carjacked. But the investigators are continuing to build cases on the other remaining incidents. So obviously they'd have to be identified and so on. There'd have to be evidence to charge them.
So the gun you said was a replica. Are you talking like a training gun, or are you talking like a 3D printed gun, or what do you mean by that?
I can get you more specifics. The information that I saw in the report that I saw was a replica handgun. That's how it was described to me. And then there was a gun used in the separate carjacking, 6 o'clock in the morning, where we have the two adults arrested, and there was a loaded magazine from a handgun recovered, but I don't believe the handgun itself was recovered.
And your investigators have no reason to believe that the juveniles and the adults are connected in any way?
No, we don't think they're connected in any way. The spree that I listed first, we believe those incidents are connected because of the cars and because of the descriptions of the suspects. But this other carjacking with these adults that were arrested, totally unrelated.
Just off topic, just going back to the that tragic shooting with the young boy at the birthday party in North Minneapolis last Sunday. Any further information about what led up to the moment that the gun was fired?
I don't know. Has that been made public yet? Have the charges? I don't know offhand what is publicly available on that. I don't know what's publicly available
Let's follow
on
up
that.
on Yes.
Yeah, we can follow up on that.
Anything else for the day?
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
Time.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.